So we're going to talk about something here, right? So this is where having the experience in the industry, this is my mother's house, right? You can see here, this is 1.25 inch, comes off the boiler, right? They did a really good job. My phone's having a really hard time focusing, and then we run off and we go old school. This house is 20 years old. So we have zone valves that come off of each manifold, right? And we go up to each heating zone. So this is what's basically called the split loop. They run one large pipe and they split off that with smaller piping, and then they run each zone and then they come back. And then on the return, which is here, on the return, everything ties back into it and then returns back to the boiler here. My mom's been having issues with her hot water. I walked down in less than 5 minutes. I knew what the problem was. So here's the issue, guys. When you're running a indirect water heater of any size, these here, the tappings dictate the size of the water heater. This is 1 inch by 3/4. You never downsize ever from what the manufacturer sends you for tappings. If somebody does this to you, it's like putting your fingers in a Chinese finger trap and sitting and trying to pull your fingers out of it. It's not going to work, right? You're pushing too much heat through too small diameter of a pipe. The BTUs needed to heat an indirect are generally around about 130,000 BTUs, unless you end up with an 80-gallon or higher water heater. Many manufacturers, too, these guys included, will tell you, and I see many of you contractors that unfortunately are misinformed, where you're putting galvanized nipples or you're putting dielectric unions on fittings like these. Don't do it, because all you're going to do is further speed up electrolysis. You're going to do the opposite of what you think you're doing. You always on the heating side, you always put brass nipples that are lead free, and you always put lead free couplings that are brass as well on the actual tappings coming off the water heater. If you don't, you will rot the water heater before you take anything else away from the equation. This piping is a 3/4 inch pipe. This piping is going to be increased to 1 inch. And then the other problem is we're missing a huge key critical component here to keep you from getting scalded. You have to put a mixing valve. And if you put a mixing valve on this that has check valves built into it, which basically will only let water flow one direction and not back down into the water heater, you have to do what's called the domestic expansion tank. So that way this guy, the TNP, doesn't end up dripping, because the excess volume when this water is heated, think of your pressure cooker, or think of when you take and you put the cover on a pot, that excess pressure has to have somewhere to go. If it doesn't, it'll cause this to drip and it'll never stop. Once these get opened, they typically never seat again because they get junk inside of them from your house. The other thing that you need to do in today's day and age, this is your well pump tank. This is the main feed coming in from the house, right? Once you go from the outlet of the well pump tank, you need to put on some kind of a sediment filter to keep that stuff out of your strainers and to keep it from boogering up and getting inside of your cartridge inside of your shower valves and all of that stuff. If we have to pull those cartridges, it gets expensive. I would rather come down here and unscrew a filter, put a new filter in, flush, and then keep that stuff here instead of it going throughout the whole house and ruining everything. These are things that are incredibly important, and if you're not educated, you just don't know any better. I hope this helps people. Make sure, if you're getting an indirect plumbed, I don't know of one on the market, the tapping from here the supply and here the return is never supposed to be smaller than 1 inch. You can't jam a BTU that's large through a small pipe. It's not going to work. Let's keep doing jobs right, guys. Let's keep learning. And let's keep understanding. We'll figure this out someday. So Sean from Local Energy signing off. Thank you for watching my video.